What's up? It's Brain here, and today we're going to dish about some of the most revolting dishes from around the world. And believe me, there's no shortage of them. Fugu. Ah, the legendary fugu fish, also known as the delicacy that could potentially be your last meal. Fugu, or puffer fish, is a culinary Russian roulette of sorts. These unassuming sea creatures pack a powerful punch in the form of a potent neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin, which is about 1/200 times more deadly than cyanide. Just a tiny morsel of this toxin can leave you feeling like you've been embraced by the Grim Reaper himself, complete with numbness, paralysis, and potentially, well, death. But fear not. That's where the highly trained and skilled fugu chefs come into play. With years of rigorous training and a steady hand, they meticulously remove the toxic parts of the fish, leaving behind the edible portions. It's like watching a high-stakes game of Operation, but instead of a buzzer, one wrong move could result in your untimely demise. So, why would anyone in their right mind risk life and limb for a taste of this aquatic Russian roulette? Well, my dear friends, therein lies the allure. Fugu enthusiasts claim that the flesh, when prepared correctly, is a delicate and exquisite delicacy. Apparently, the dance with death adds a certain je ne sais quoi to the flavor profile. Who needs skydiving when you can get your kicks from a potentially lethal plate of fish? Of course, the sarcasm aside, fugu is a revered delicacy in Japan, steeped in cultural tradition and respect for the skilled chefs who prepare it. But let's be real, there's a certain morbid fascination that comes with risking your life for a meal. If you find yourself in Japan and want to try this dish, just be sure to have your last will and testament in order. Kopalchen. Kopalchen is a notorious Siberian delicacy that involves burying a dead animal's head underground for months. Kopalchen is usually prepared from walrus, seal, duck, deer, or even a whale. Kopalchen is held under the ground until it becomes a putrid, maggot-infested, gelatinous mess. Die-hard fans insist on eating it while the squirming maggots are still alive and kicking. It's like a party in your mouth where everyone's invited, including an entire battalion of uninvited pest guests. Consuming this dish is the ultimate culinary rebellion. It's a rite of passage among hardy Siberians, separating the true gastronomic warriors from the weak. Just be warned, the consequences may include food poisoning, hallucinations, and a lifelong aversion to eating. But hey, you'll earn some serious bragging rights if you survive. Bon appetit, thrill seekers. Surstromming. Surstromming, the fermented herring that smells like a biological weapon. This infamous Swedish delicacy is essentially rotten fish sealed in a bulging can, just daring you to open it and unleash a stench so foul it could clear out a subway car. The risks? Well, beyond the very real possibility of vomiting from the overpowering reek alone, ingesting this putrid fish comes with a lovely bouquet of potential side effects: diarrhea, food poisoning, and quite possibly an exorcism to rid your body of whatever demonic spirits possessed you to eat it. Yet for some masochistic Swedes, that's all part of the appeal. Surstromming is like the hazing ritual of Swedish cuisine, a badge of honor to stomach something so vile. Because what better way to bond with friends and family than by eating food that has the potential to poison you all? So if you ever find yourself in Sweden jonesing for an experience that makes tear gas seem pleasant, track down a can of Surstromming. But stock up on anti-nausea pills. Century egg. This Chinese treat takes regular eggs and mummifies them for weeks or months in a salty crust until the yolks turn a charming shade of green and the whites go transparent. Appetizing, no? Consuming these funk bombs could lead to a one-way ticket to Queasy Town. That funky outer crust around the egg isn't from aging. It's from exposure to ammonia fumes that permeate the shell. Yet for the thrill-seeking gourmand, that's all part of the appeal. Eating a century egg is like licking a century-old corpse, a delightfully morbid culinary experience. The taste has been described as a taste of sweat socks left too long in a gym bag. Not bad. Mouse wine. The nightmarishly niche Chinese tonic. This delightful vintage, involves drowning a batch of plump, proteinous rodents in a vat of rice wine and letting their decomposing carcasses steep for months. The purported benefits? Getting totally blazed on liquor laced with potent mammalian hormones, because nothing cures what ails you like a stiff drink of bottled rat soup and a sense of superiority. Perceived risks include vomiting, heavy metal poisoning, and quite possibly manifesting a mouse phobia on a spiritual plane. But for the adventurous anaphile, therein lies the novelty. What's not to love about sipping on a murky, musty-tasting moonshine that makes industrial cleaners seem palatable? It's like licking the New York subway for a buzz. Sure, you may sprout whiskers and an inexplicable penchant for cheese, but at least you can say you chug China's most avant-garde wine. Swallow's Nest. Swallow's Nest soup, the Chinese delicacy that is literally cooked bird spit. This prized broth involves dissolving the saliva-constructed nests of cave-dwelling swiftlets into a thick, gloopy soup that looks suspiciously like viscous brown sludge. The flavors have been described as akin to licking a sweaty, dirty jockstrap. The risks? Aside from the visceral disgust of slurping down avian mucus, there's always the chance you could choke on an errant feather or two left behind from our flying friends. But that's a small price for ingesting one of the world's most expensive bodily fluids. For the ultra-wealthy gourmand, however, Swallow's Nest soup represents the height of culinary decadence. There is a perverse joy in literally being able to consume a bird's home, rendering it homeless. It's the ultimate pretentious flex. Casu Marzu, the traditional Sardinian cheese that's sure to surprise you. Because this is no ordinary cheese. This dubious delicacy involves cheese flies laying eggs inside pecorino cheese, with the hatched larvae then burrowing in, munching away, and proliferating into a full-on maggot metropolis. This unique process creates a distinctive flavor that's wildly popular. Gourmands insist on eating the cheese while the larvae are still alive and wriggling. But if you don't chew those maggots thoroughly enough, the little buggers could survive your stomach acid and take up residence in your digestive tract. They'll start feasting on you from the inside out. You're literally risking a parasitic worm infestation that can cause nausea, food poisoning, fever, and the shakes. Yet among Sardinian locals, there's a widespread belief that Casu Marzu is a potent aphrodisiac. Perhaps that's because after ingesting this rotted cheese, you'll likely hallucinate, which might just convince you the urban legend is true. If you dare to dine on Casu Marzu, be sure to chew thoroughly, unless you're prepared for some intestinal renovations if the new tenants decide to take up permanent residency. Hakarl. This punishing dish involves taking a nice chunk of putrefying, rotted shark meat and burying it underground for 2 to 5 months to ferment into a funky, ammonia-laced mess. The risks? Well, besides the very real possibility of projectile vomiting from the overwhelming urine stench alone, Hakarl has been known to induce temporary blindness and burn off what's left of your taste buds. However, oddly enough, for brave masochists, this is exactly what attracts them. Whale beer. This bizarro brew involves utilizing pallets of putrefying, rotted whale meat as a hearty base malt, imparting notes of funky marine decay. The risks? Beyond the potential legal issues of consuming an endangered species, one sip could quite literally induce violent vomiting fits. And that rich, gamey aftertaste? Yeah, that's blubber and blubbery rot lingering on your palate. It's the liquid equivalent of munching on rotten shark. It's definitely a very disgusting beverage, which by the way is very popular, giving cause to ponder about the collective IQ of humanity. Kopi Luwak. Kopi Luwak is a unique and very strange beverage that can be considered a true hit among coffee connoisseurs. It is produced from coffee beans, but not ordinary beans. These have passed through the digestive tract of a small Indonesian animal called the Asian palm civet, or musang. Palm civets are omnivorous but very picky, so they select only the ripest and most aromatic coffee cherries to consume, and their digestive system somehow magically transforms them. The coffee beans pass through the animal's digestive tract, where they are fermented and undergo various chemical changes. After that, they are excreted along with the palm civet's droppings. Sounds appetizing, doesn't it? After this, The beans are collected by plantation workers, thoroughly washed, roasted, and prepared like regular coffee. However, the process of their processing gives this coffee a special aroma and flavor notes, for which people pay over $500 per kilogram. Yeah, being a strange is very expensive these days. So what dish do you find the most disgusting of all? Write in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Love what I do? Want to support more of this content? Then consider becoming a patron on Patreon. In return for your generous support, I'll give you a shout out at the end of each video, listing out all my valued patrons. The link is in the description for this video. Bye. See you again soon.